Welcome to Soul Sparks with Saima. Here, we dive into the essence of conscious living and awakened compassion. Today, I am joined by the incredible Dr. Will Tuttle, author of the World Peace Diet, spiritual teacher, and lifelong advocate for mindful, compassionate living. And together, we'll explore how spiritual healing and inner awareness can ripple out to heal the world around us. So, Dr. Will, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
Oh, you're warmly welcome. It's my pleasure to have you here. So, Dr. Will, you've spoken often about compassion as a pathway to peace. So, can you share that? How do you define compassion in a world that often confuses it with weakness?
Right. Well, compassion is two things. It's a feeling of empathy, a feeling of the awareness of the suffering of others, and it's combined with a yearning to act to relieve the suffering of others. So it's got these two dimensions. So in many ways, compassion is the highest form of love because it's a sense of kindness and caring for the welfare of others and wishing that they would be free from suffering. But it's not merely a feeling. It's also the yearning and the commitment to act to help them, to help relieve their suffering. And that's why it's such a powerful force in our world, because it's like a mother for her child. The mother has a natural sense of compassion for her precious child, and she doesn't merely wish the child to be well, but she acts to try to protect the child and to try to give the child the best possible life. And so that feeling of compassion is in all of us, and men and women. We all have this capacity for compassion, and it's a very powerful motivating force, I think, for a better world in a positive sense, to help us see others not merely as objects to be used or as enemies, but as other living beings who are having difficulties. And when we understand their difficulties and we're moved by compassion, then we do our best to help them. And that leads to healing of the conflicts that are in the world, and at a deeper level, a spiritual healing that helps us to see that really there's one life that lives through all of us. And it is that awareness that there's one life living through all of us that gives us a sense of compassion and kindness for others, because each one of us knows what it is like to suffer. We've all suffered physical pain and emotional pain, and psychological and cultural pain in various ways. And so we know what that's like. And so we also would not want others to suffer pain either. We know, and that natural sense of empathy, I think, is really our greatest strength as human beings.
Mm-hmm. That's really a powerful way to put it, I would say. Like you said, that compassion as the highest form of love, it really reframes how we see strength, showing that compassion isn't about being soft or yielding, but about I feel that it's about having the courage to care deeply even when it's difficult. And it's a strength that comes from the heart, one that, invites understanding instead of judgment, and healing instead of harm, sorry. So do you think that true compassion requires a kind of inner courage that society really teaches us?
Yeah, exactly. It's innate. It's inborn. Like I was saying earlier, a mother, if she sees maybe her child going into a dangerous situation and out onto a busy road, or maybe to some water or something where they might fall in and get hurt, she very proactively, very strongly acts. She'll, if there's something in the way, she'll throw it out of the way, and then she'll get to her child to help her child. So it's not meek and yielding. It's powered by love. And the thing is, of course, in our modern society, the main problem in many ways is that we are disconnected from nature and in many ways from our spiritual roots. And so we feel ourselves as separate and we're trying to protect ourselves. And it's this self-centeredness, really, I think, that really gets in the way of our spirituality and of our compassion, because our society in many ways is set up that we have to compete with each other for a limited amount of money, a limited number of good jobs, a limited number of people we can marry, maybe, whatever it is. We're kind of competing with each other. And so that makes us see others as obstacles or as instruments that we can use to get what we want. And the whole idea, really, with compassion, which is based on spirituality, again, is to see how our joy comes from helping others be happy. Our greatest joy is in blessing others, and our greatest happiness is in helping others to be happy. And that this is really the foundation of a positive future, not only for ourselves as individuals, but for our society. I think we all know really deep down that if someone lives a self-centered life, they may be very successful, perhaps, in accumulating a lot of money and so forth, but they pay a big price because the heart has to become hardened, and they very often suffer from illness and disease and psychological unhappiness, basically, because they see the world as a battleground where they're trying to win. And all the great sages from the past, from all the countries in the world, of course, especially in India, talked about the possibility of spiritual enlightenment and realizing the joy, the bliss, the happiness, the liberation, the freedom of understanding that there is no fundamentally separate self anywhere. That if we really look deeply into this little self that we think we are, that was born and will die, we see really that there's consciousness, there's awareness, and it's our consciousness, this awareness that's infinite and eternal, that is the force that creates the physical body that we have for a few decades. But that physical body is only here for a few decades, and then it goes back to the earth again. But what we are is infinite and eternal consciousness. And we can understand that. We can learn that when we meditate, when we quiet our mind and stop thinking and begin to become aware of the I, the true self that we are, which is, like I say, was never born and will never die. And that, I think, is what gives rise really to compassion and to everything that you're talking about.
The way you describe compassion, as an act of inner bravery really stands out, I would say. And it's true that our culture doesn't always nurture that kind of quiet strength, the courage to stay gentle, empathetic, and connected, even when the world pushes us toward indifference or self-protection. And what you're saying reminds me that compassion isn't just a feeling, it's a conscious practice of integrity and presence, and that's such a meaningful reflection.
Right. And the other thing, of course, that I talk about quite a bit in my books that is related to this is our routine mistreatment of animals for food and other products, because I think that really is underlying a lot of the problems that we're having, because we're raised in a society where from the time we're little infants, we're drinking milk from cows, eggs from chickens, and then very often flesh from animals that are killed. And so we're just raised eating a vibration of suffering and where beings own other living beings as property. They enslave them, they imprison them, they sexually abuse them, they kill them, they eat them. And these beings that are being harmed have interests that are as important to them as my interests are to me as a human being. But we're just raised in this type of a society where this is done millions and millions of times every day by everyone. So that underlying food really, I think, is the main problem, because that creates a rhythm. Every day we're eating suffering, and we're eating the opposite of compassion, and we're building ourselves, our body. I mean, the actual physical vehicle that we use in this lifetime, we're building this beautiful body that we have with bricks that are made out of violence and abuse and harm and fear and terror, pain, suffering, despair, misery, all these terrible things that these poor animals experience. So the wonderful thing is that we can thrive and celebrate our lives and be healthy without doing that. I haven't eaten any animal foods for 45 years, and I'm very healthy. I'm now in my 70s, but I feel like I'm in my 20s. It works great. And so I think it's really helpful to cultivate compassion, not just for human beings, of course, but also for all living beings, for animals, for future generations, for wildlife, for ecosystems, for hungry people, for every living being as much as we can. And when we do that, we find that the world that we're living in becomes more and more beautiful. It just becomes more beautiful because we feel more at home in the world and in nature, because we're not harming others. I think that's a very important point.
And I really appreciate that you highlighted this perspective. I completely agree with that, yes. Now, you have been vegan since 1980, long before it was mainstream. So what has this journey taught you about spiritual alignment through food and lifestyle?
Well, the main thing it's taught me really is this wonderful sense that we have a great gift here as a human being. We have the gift of a human life where we are able to grow spiritually and to awaken, and that we live basically in a benevolent universe. I think, one of the things we've also done is my wife, Madeline, and I have become farmers. Not big farmers, but we have a garden. We have a food forest, so we're growing a lot of our own food. We have about 80 fruit and nut trees, and then lots of vegetables and things. So we work with the earth, and we harvest fruits and vegetables, and we plant them. And what we learned basically is the more we love the earth and the more we love the garden and the trees and the plants, the more they love us, and the more the food itself becomes actually medicine. It becomes actually, I think the plants have the ability to tune into or to connect with our consciousness as the years go by and we get to know them more and more, and we work with them. These trees that have been here now, we've been working with them for 10 or 15 years. And so they're like old friends. And the more we love them, the more they love us. And the food becomes very energizing and healing. And I think one of the best things anyone can do is to try to grow a little bit of food yourself somewhere. Because when we connect back with nature in a cooperative way, where we don't use any chemicals or pesticides or herbicides, we do everything organically. We do everything. It's called veganic or stock free. We don't use any manure or bone meal or blood meal. Nothing from animals. Just build the soil with compost and with minerals and with effective microorganisms. And bone, just without any chemicals. It really is a beautiful experience. So I think it's taught me so many things. Plus, I've been able to travel all over the world and give lectures promoting vegan living. I've given over 4,000 lectures in over 50 countries, plus every state, all 50 states in the United States. And I've met thousands and thousands of people all over Africa and Asia and North and South America and Europe and everywhere. And to see that this is a movement that is growing, and it's also an ancient movement. Compassion for animals has been understood for hundreds of years, for thousands of years, to be the foundation of a happy society for human beings. It's the foundation of spiritual healing, spiritual awareness, and it's the foundation of creating a world that has a positive future for our children. So this is an ancient wisdom that has been suppressed in our world, but I think it's now being rediscovered. And the final thing I'll say is that it's helped to connect me to what I refer to in my writing as Sophia. And Sophia was the ancient Greek goddess of wisdom. And it represents the wisdom within all of us, within human beings. We have this archetypal feminine wisdom of kindness and compassion for all living beings. Like I mentioned, the mother that loves her child. And we see this in Sophia, in the Jewish tradition, Shekinah, in Saraswati, in Prajna, in the Buddhist tradition. There's a feminine deity that is wisdom and abundance and kindness, compassion, awareness, freedom. It's all interconnected. And when we live in a way that's kind and caring and eat a vegan diet, for example, and understand why, then we nurture the sacred feminine dimension in ourselves and in our society. And that brings more peace and harmony into the world. So I think it's something everyone can do. We can all do our best to discover the Sophia, the inner wisdom of compassion.
Absolutely. It's really incredible, I would say, that how deeply you have lived your values, not just through diet, but through cultivating a direct, nurturing relationship with the earth. And the idea of connecting back to nature, like you said, growing food without chemicals and sharing that knowledge with thousands of people really shows that how lifestyle can be a form of spiritual practice. And your journey beautifully illustrates that alignment between action, belief, and compassion, and that's truly inspiring, I would say. So, building on that connection between lifestyle and values, do you believe what we eat can influence not only our health but also our collective consciousness?
The influence on our health and collective consciousness, I think the main influence really is, I think there's a couple of things. One is, of course, each one of us as an individual has a tremendous impact on our society. But I also feel that there is a collective consciousness that is growing in our world today, that we're rising in our vibration as a species, as humanity, and that more and more we're beginning to realize that, as I said earlier, there's one life that lives through humans and through all living beings. So I think even though there are very powerful forces that are working to divide us and to keep us in conflict with each other, there are even more powerful forces that are uniting us, because that's the underlying truth. And that's really the divine blueprint and template, is that there's loving kindness, and that when we see others, we naturally have a sense of love and kindness for them, and that this is unstoppable. Ultimately, it's unstoppable. It's growing, and any way we can find to help nurture this, like what you're doing with these podcasts, to help shine the light of truth into our world, that it not only helps one or two people, but everybody that it touches, they touch other people as well. And it's like we each have a candle and we light each other's candle, and pretty soon everybody it has a candle that is shining a light, and that makes it much easier for all of us to shine the light for each other. So I think that there's thousands and thousands of different ways that this is happening, and it's an unstoppable force. And that ultimately within, I mean, I don't know how long it's going to take, but I would say within the unfoldment of the next 30, 40, 50 years, we'll see some wonderful positive transformations happening in human consciousness that will help liberate not only people, but liberate animals and liberate all living beings, because that's the way we are designed to go in that direction.
That's such a powerful thought, Dr. Will. Like the idea that there are deeper forces bringing us together, like you said, and beyond what we can always see or measure. It's really a hopeful reminder that our choices, even something as simple as what we eat, can become part of that larger movement towards unity and awareness. And I love how you frame it, that this is awakening, this shift in consciousness isn't something that can be stopped once it begins. And it's really inspiring to hear that perspective.
Right. Yeah. And, and I think the other thing is that each one of us makes a big difference in that we as individuals, we're called, I think it's like a calling to question everything we've ever been told about the way we are, the way life is, the way our society is. And that's not easy. That's an important part. I think it's challenging. Like I know in my own life, I was raised in order, to take over my father's business, to run a newspaper. He had a whole chain of newspapers. And so I had to really struggle, in a sense, when I was younger, to know what is the right thing for me to do. And I really felt it in my heart. I started actually reading books when I was only 20 years old, 19, 20 years old, on meditation, on yoga, way back in the 1970s. And I got inspired, and I told my parents, I'm not going to go into your business. I feel called to go on a spiritual pilgrimage, like the people in India would just walk and meditate and wouldn't worry about food or anything. And somehow they would be taken care of, and they would meditate, and they would be able to discover deeper levels of truth within themselves. And so I actually did that with my younger brother, Ed. We left home. We had no money. We just walked. Thought we'd walk across the whole country all the way to California. And that whole process just started something inside of me that never stopped, which was to seek the truth and to realize that we're in this world, but we're not of this world. We're here for a few decades to help out, but what we are is far greater than that. So these ideas sound very rosy, very nice, very comfortable, very loving. And on one level they are, but on the other hand, they're demanding. They require us to leave something that, like, leave a job, perhaps, where I'm just a slave, making money, trying to get more money for a better house or car, and to really think about how I want to spend the one thing that we have, which is our time. How we would like to spend our time in a way that fulfills us, our deeper purpose. So the spiritual calling is not for weak people. It's really designed, I think, to make us stronger and give us more courage, and to really require us to make big changes in our life, to question things, to take risks, to try new things, to maybe be the one person in the room that everybody thinks is wrong, but we think anyway. That's what we think, So it's challenging, but it's so rewarding ultimately. And I have to say, I feel even though, there were challenges, like I'm sure we all have challenges, but it brings a wonderful periods of great happiness and joy and gratitude and appreciation that come out of this. So that's the main thing. It's a wonderful adventure. Our life is an adventure, and it doesn't last that long. It goes by quickly, and it's essentially a spiritual adventure. So the more we can just rise up and face challenges and be willing to speak the truth and do the best we can to find freedom in the sense of not freedom to exploit others, but freedom to be free of delusion and see that there's a beauty within us and all around us, and to serve that beauty as best we can, to honor that and respect that and see the best in other people and plant seeds of kindness and compassion wherever we go, then we will have lived our life well. And even though our life goes by very quickly, if we can live every day as an expression of kindness and caring for others, then we will have lived our life well. And I think it's a beautiful opportunity that we all have. Everybody has a different, a different melody to sing. Everybody has a different dance to do. But together, we can make beautiful music and a beautiful dance together if we all connect with our own unique story and unique music that we have, the unique perspective we have, and share that. So I just want to thank you again for this wonderful opportunity that we have to share these ideas. Thanks.
Oh, beautifully said. And that connection between inner nourishment and outer harmony is really profound. It reframes every choice in the spiritual act, I feel. And I love the way you frame it. This was really an inspiring conversation. Thank you, Dr. Tuttle, for sharing your light and wisdom with us. And to everyone listening, remember, peace isn't a distant dream. It's a daily practice starting within you. So stay conscious, stay compassionate, and keep your soul sparking.